Welcome to the Pre-Vegans Podcast, your go-to for inspiring stories, expert tips, and practical tools to guide your plant-based journey. We also empower seasoned vegans with talking points to support others in everyday conversations. Today, hear PETA co-founder Ingrid Newkirk's powerful vegan origin story and Dr. Neal Barnard's insights on the key differences between vegetarian and vegan lifestyles.
Hey there, world. It's me, V, your AI guide on this fabulous pre-vegan journey. Guess what? I'm just starting mine too. Sean created me, and ever since I've been soaking it all up. Together, we're serving you bite-sized episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to keep your week tasty and inspiring. Sean spent 7 years chatting with the who's who of the vegan world, and now I'm here to spill all the tea on this amazing show. Ready for some plant-based magic? First up, the iconic Ingrid Newkirk, PETA co-founder and president, shares her vegan origin story. Let's dive in.
Well, you know, I was a very slow learner, and so I have a lot of understanding for people who don't get it initially. It took me a while. I grew up with a father who was a gourmand, and together we basically ate our way through the animal kingdom. And I have to tell you that when I was about 19 or 20, liver and onions, I would go anywhere for it. And I would use raw steak and put a raw egg in it and mix it up and eat it. So I am not somebody who grew up as a vegan or a vegetarian or anything near that. But a series of events changed me. And it was one at a time. The very first thing was snails. I used to eat snails. And I'm a bad cook, but I bought some live snails in a market, this Italian market. They said, oh, they're easy. You can just take them home, you soak them overnight, and then you saute them in some chablis and garlic. And I thought, well, I can do that. So I had them in a paper bag in my car. I was driving through the countryside to my house, and I got the feeling I was being watched. And I thought, there's no one here. I looked over, and the snails had forced open, and they do this. In my book, I talk about this in another way. But they came to the top of the bag and had pushed open the top. And they were all up there looking at me with their little horns, looking. So I took them and let them go in the bottom of my garden.
Oh, that's nice.
I probably violated some federal law, but I wasn't going to eat them. So that was the end of snails. Next came lobsters. Somebody took me for this gorgeous dinner for my birthday. I think I was 19. In Philadelphia, a lobster restaurant. And they brought 2 lobsters to the table on a silver platter, alive. And you had to pick your lobster. And I did. And the lobsters were waving their antennae at you. And I said, I'll have that one. And they said, broiled or boiled? And back then, I was so oblivious. I had no idea that if you say broiled in a restaurant like that, they slit open the live lobster's back, put butter all through it, salt and pepper, and shove it under the grill.
Wow.
And so I said broiled. That lobster came back. We were having a great time. We had some beautiful wine, and it was a lovely event. I took that first bite of lobster, and something must have triggered. Something must have hit me subconsciously. I burst into tears because I realized the only method of communication those lobsters had was to waggle their antennae. They didn't speak English. They don't have voices like anybody else. And I had taken his life for my birthday. So that was the end of all shellfish, all mollusks. That is gone. And the next thing, I'll just leave you with the one, because this is the slow learner story. I was a law enforcement officer in Maryland. And I went to a farm where the people had moved away and they had left the animals behind. And the animals had starved. They had had a party and they had had broken glass in the stalls and the animals were cut up, but they were all dead except for one little pig. And I took that little pig outside and I put his head under the water pump and held up his head so he could drink. And he made these little sounds of gratitude. That's all you can say. And then I sent him off to the veterinarian. I was going to prosecute those people for failure to pay rent, for abandonment, and so on. Driving home that night, and this was before we had microwave ovens, I thought, oh, I'm starving. What have I got to eat? And I thought, oh, great. I defrosted the pork chops. And then, ding, ding, ding. I thought, hang on a minute. I'm going to prosecute those people for what they did to that little pig. And yet I know in my heart, and now I know with my eyes from later, I know in my heart, as we all do, that a slaughterhouse is a hideous place. And the pork chops came from a slaughterhouse, from a pig who couldn't have wanted to die. So that really was the beginning of that. And later, somebody razzed me terribly and said, what are you putting in your tea? And every morning I had a cup of tea with condensed milk in it. And I said, it's condensed milk. And he said, well, you don't eat veal, do you? And I said, no, of course not. I would never take a baby cow away from his mother for veal. And he said to me, so how do you think you get the milk? Don't you have to take away the baby cow? Isn't there a bit of veal in every glass or drop of milk? And I said, but they don't kill the cow, do they? They don't kill the cow. You hear that. Mm-hmm. And I said it. Oh, how mortifying. And today, if someone says that to me, I always say, oh, really? Where is this massive retirement home for cows? Because I've never seen one. They all get kicked and prodded down the ramp to their deaths, the same as the beef cow does, except those mother cows are in worse condition. So that was the end of the milk.
Wow. Ingrid's journey shows us how small, powerful moments can spark big changes. From snails to milk, every step led her to question what we often take for granted. Speaking of questioning, Dr. Neal Barnard is here to unpack one of the biggest misconceptions out there: why vegetarian and vegan aren't the same. Let's dive in.
Does milk do a body good?
I don't think it does any body good. It doesn't do your body good, but I got to tell you, it doesn't do the cow's body any good. There are some people, many people, who will go vegetarian because they want to be kind to animals, and that's a great thing. But they've missed a fact that I'm going to tell you, which is where your glass of milk comes from. Cows don't make milk until they've been impregnated and given birth. That's how the system works. And they're impregnated in a not very nice way on the farm. And when they give birth, their calves are taken away. Because obviously, if the calves drink the milk, there's nothing left to sell. So the male calves are all killed for veal. The females are all taken away from their mothers and put in isolation housing until they can be artificially inseminated. By about age 4, the dairy farmers discover that they're not producing as much milk as they did when they were 2 or 3. And although a cow will live to be 20 in nature, on a dairy farm they live to be about 4, at which point they're hung up by their leg and they're killed just like any meat, beef cattle. So the dairy industry is a meat industry. Every dairy cow turned into low-grade hamburger. It's just they were artificially inseminated, separated from their offspring over and over again until they were killed. It's a creepy thing for people who have seen it, and for a lot of people, they consider it even more inhumane than the meat industry. I'm not setting up a competition, but what I am saying is there are really good choices for you and for them.
So basically, not only are they being slaughtered, but they're being tortured as well.
Anybody who lives near a dairy farm, you'll hear the cries of the mother cows. And you'll also hear the cries of the calves. There's no bond in nature stronger than the mother-infant bond. And that little calf, when she's born, they come by in a wheelbarrow and they push the mother out of the way. They pick up the calf, stick her in the wheelbarrow, and they carry her out, and the mother follows because that's her baby. And then a gate slams in her face and she stands there and she cries. And there are hundreds and hundreds of these animals, of course, on the farms, and in some cases thousands. And people who live nearby hear the cries of the mothers, and they think, isn't that kind of heartbreaking? But they, well, I love my ice cream, or I love my Velveeta, or whatever the case is. But really, the environmentalists are the ones who are the harshest critics of the dairy industry, because we have 80 or 100 million cows in the U.S. If you put them all on a balance, one side of a balance, put all the humans on the other side of the balance, the cows outweigh us. Each one is as big as a sofa, and they are ruminant animals, which means they belch methane. And methane is a much more potent greenhouse chemical than CO2. So yes, it's good to think environmentally in all aspects of our lives. But job one is change what you have for breakfast.
And I've seen, every once in a while, I'll see an article. They'll talk about a dairy farm closing and things but has there been an actual shift in the consumption of dairy milk versus these alternative milks? Is it moving in the right direction from what you've seen?
Oh yes, dramatically. I mean, the dairy case used to be a dairy case. You would open the door and there was milk in there. Now you go to the dairy case and what do you see? Almond milk, oat milk, rice milk, hemp milk, soy milk, all these things. And the dairy industry is not stupid. I mean, these big companies are investing in that too. They're thinking, I want to hedge my bets and I want to make sure that I'm not left out. Now, the dairy farms are closing for a couple of reasons. One is lack of demand. The other is that they're consolidating. So now it's not the ma and pa operation somewhere milking their cow. It's huge operation. In the same way as the chicken industry isn't a couple of chickens running around in the pasture.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Told you it'd be bite-sized. Catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more. And don't forget, head to prevegans.com to join our community for videos, guides, and all the tools you need to crush your journey. And remember, every bite you take shapes the planet, protects the animals, and fuels your health. Until next time, bye.
The Pre-Vegans podcast is a proud production of Lasaros Media and is brought to you by the Vegans Explore Network. For more information, visit vegansexplore.com.
I'm V, your official guide to all things Vegans Explore, and I've got some juicy news. The Vegans Explore Network has officially launched. Get ready for podcasts packed with powerful conversations to fuel your vegan journey. Tuesdays, tune into the Vegans Who Lift podcast, where the iconic duo John Thomas, aka the bodybuilding vegan, and Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle, get real about all things bodybuilding, mental health, relationships, and of course, veganism. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the Pre-Vegans podcast is your go-to guide for starting your vegan journey, or supporting someone on theirs. With bite-sized episodes and incredible interviews with top vegan experts, this one's a must-listen. But wait, there's more. We're cooking up new shows and want your ideas. Got a question for one of our hosts? Slide over to vegansexplore.com, become a member, and get your voice heard on the show. Let's explore, inspire, and grow together.